If you're looking to buy your first home, you'll need a mortgage. But there are some mistakes first-time buyers often make when it comes to getting that loan from the bank or mortgage brokers. Here to tell us how you can avoid those issues is Frank Napolitano of Mortgage Brokers Ottawa for our Mortgage Minute. And we want to remind you that Mortgage Minute is for information purposes only. Good morning to you, Frank.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know, there's so much talk about, finding your perfect home, your dream home, what to look for, check out the bathroom, look and see, if the kitchen has been upgraded. Not as much talk about the actual mortgage, the thing that goes into funding that dream of owning a home. So we got to talk about this and what we need to look out for, okay?
Yeah, happy to.
All right, so common mortgage mistakes.
Okay.
Let's get into it now. Let me see here. Do we have it? Yeah, we do.
Which is, before you even start looking at homes, this is a step you need to take.
Not getting pre-approved for a mortgage.
Yeah.
Some folks just go headlong into the process of looking for a house and picking one out, but then, wait a minute, you need this. Why do you need to be pre-approved for a mortgage before you really get into that whole process of buying a home?
Again, if you're going out with a realtor, if you're going out on your own, nobody's going to ask you, but if you're going out with a realtor, a really good realtor will make sure that you've been pre-approved, because the last thing they want to do is get you all excited for a home that you're likely not going to be able to finance. So that's the most important part. But again, I think the pre-approval is so much more than that. It's more about understanding what your payments are going to look like, what your costs are going to be in this house, and making sure that a lifestyle that you're maybe accustomed to living that you really don't want to give up, you're still going to be able to maintain, because it's going to come with some sacrifices. When you're renting, if something happens with the faucet, with the roof, the windows, the doors, it's not your problem. If you own the home, it's your problem now, and it could be a big financial strain. If you don't pick the right house, getting a home inspection is also very critical.
Okay, so getting that pre-approval, then that gives you an idea. Okay, this is my cap.
Yep.
Sorry, the $2 million plus home, can't afford that. It's going to be a bit lower, so then you know the range in which you're looking at.
And what your costs are. I think most people, the most important thing is, what's it going to cost me on a monthly basis? Like, can I really afford it? Should I be buying it now, or should I be waiting? Or should I be buying something smaller for now? Okay,
next up here, failing to budget for additional costs. Now you're talking about, okay, you'll know what your mortgage is. If you get pre-approved and then you find a house, that's kind of easy enough to do to get that number down. But what about the additional costs? What are we talking about when we talk about additional costs
Well,
here?
nothing is free in the world, and when you buy a house doesn't have GST or HST. It has what's called land transfer tax. A land transfer tax is basically, it's like any other tax. When you buy that first home, it's approximately 1 to 1.5% of the value of the home you're buying. So it's pretty costly. You're buying a $700,000 home, your land transfer tax is close to $10,000. So you need to have that money. That you don't get to add that to your mortgage. So it's really critical, especially if you're buying with only a 5% down payment. If you've got a significant down payment, then we can do the numbers and take some off the down payment, make sure you've got the money for the closing costs. Also, lawyer fees are there too. So you got legal fees. You could have a property tax adjustment. So property taxes in the city are paid by the middle of June. You paid for the entire year of property taxes. But if you get your house and you're moving in on June 30th, the vendors already paid the property taxes for the year, but you're going to be living in it the second half of the year. So guess what? You owe the vendor property taxes for half the year. So again, once you start incorporating those numbers, you have a better idea of what you're going to need at closing time.
Okay, and closing time can be a bit of a shock because things add up.
They really do, and the last thing we want, and I think you really need to do your budget, the last thing you need is to go to the lawyers, and the lawyer says, you need to bring me a certified check for this amount. What? Like, no, we thought our down payment was $20,000. Why do we need to come up with so much money? Because of the closing costs.
Okay, next up, not considering future needs.
Again, buy a house that you're going to be able to afford and continue to live your lifestyle. But if you've got a car that's at the end of its life and you don't have car payments, and all of a sudden you've got to get a car, go look at what cars are today. They're no longer $300 a month. That's why you hear all the advertisements. It sounds great at $300, but then they put in the bi-weekly part. So now it's $600 a month for a car loan payment. So again, you got to incorporate that into it, because, and I say it this way, and I don't mean it to be in any other way, but when you buy a pair of jeans, you can return them, or if you don't like them, you don't use them. To return a house, if you buy a house and now you feel like you've made a mistake, the cost for real estate, the land transfer tax, you don't get it back. the moving cost, everything that goes with it, it's tens of thousands of dollars. So you need to make sure when you're doing it properly.
I'm glad we're talking about this because we don't normally break it down. We just say we bought a house for this much and that was it.
And that's it.
But there's so many additional costs and future expenses
as
well.
You got
and
it.
especially if you bought a house and now you're way out, you're further out. Guess what? You need a reliable car.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, we've got overlooking mortgage options. What are we talking about here?
It's a good one. I mean, most Canadians take the 5-year fixed. Well, maybe the 5-year fixed is not the best option if you're planning to buy a home. And not that mortgages aren't portable, because they are. You could take them from one house to another. But maybe your plan is to buy this for 2 years because you're in a job that you might get transferred somewhere, and maybe even out of the country. So make sure that you choose the right option, because breaking a mortgage early and paying the penalty, especially if you're with a major bank, is extremely expensive, and you don't get that money back. Like, that's money that's out the window. So just choose the right one. Maybe it's a variable rate mortgage that you need under your circumstances. Again, I meet all types of people where they're early in a new relationship, so they don't quite want to buy with the new partner, but the new partner might be part of it. So therefore, again, set up the mortgage based on what your needs are today, but also make sure that you've got some flexibility on what could happen a year or two from now.
Yeah, breaking down that mortgage and the expenses that come with it. Really appreciate you coming on. Frank Napolitano from Mortgage Brokers Ottawa. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Always.